We are live. This is Emil Fisher. I've got Alexander Hagman today on the as of yet unnamed podcast. We're still coming up with a name for it. We're finishing up the voting this weekend, and we're going to have it named by early next week.
Jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's one option. Here's my thing. I'm really hesitant to let that be the name of it because I don't just want to interview jiu-jitsu people.
Okay. Yeah.
It's tough. It's like I have other thoughts about it, but like that's the really big pragmatic reason that I'm hesitant. Anyway, That's enough about that.
Right.
How are you doing, Alex?
Yeah, I'm pretty good. It's 10 o'clock in the Saturday evening here in Sweden. As you can see, pretty dark outside.
Yeah.
I'm going to open here, see if we have some light here. I'm going to go outside. So if you can see this.
Yeah, it's dark, man.
There's some snow here.
There's some snow.
Yeah, a little bit.
It's 60 degrees Fahrenheit out here.
I'm putting up the barbecue here soon.
Yeah.
When we are on some plus degrees.
Gotcha. So I know that when we spoke about having you on, you were mentioning that you run the currently only open Gracie certified training center in the world right now.
Yes, I think so. I think there was like Taiwan and Luleå, Sweden, a couple of weeks ago or something, and I think Taiwan closed down. So from what I know now, I'm the only one who is open. So it's pretty weird. There's like, I don't know, 200, 300 CTCs around the world, and I'm the only one active right now. So,
what do you think about that? Like, what do you think? Like, are you doing anything out of the ordinary to try to keep everybody safe at your gym?
Yes, I think Sweden right now is at the what you in the US would consider being phase 2 in your make America great again, open America again. So phase 2. So probably so I can be open, and 3 weeks ago there was no limitations to what we could do, but about 2 weeks ago there was a little bit of strengthening in the measures being taken, and that was like limit near contact to the maximum if you can. And so this goes out to wrestling, this goes out to all these kind of clubs, so we can train and we could still do what we want, but we should just limit everything. And I mean, right now there's only kids and teenagers. They are sort of recommended to keep on training because public health is very connected to sports and activities. So if you stop that, we see it as it's going to have a health downfall, even worse than it is. But grown-up people like myself and the club in general, we have to modify the setup a little bit. And so I do a lot of double leg takedown shoots, single shoots. I do a lot of things on the dolls, a lot of movements on the grappling dummies, and I also, I can go leg locks. It's not a problem as you are not close to the so you can sort of operate on feet and things like that. And you can also go ashi setups and things like that. So but I modified, but say on the other hand, when you train, you basically do so much. Not you as a professional, you have to do. You have to set up your training in very, very strict. But casual people doing fun jiu-jitsu, they do a lot of things that it's not really helping their game. It's like they just adding techniques for every session. They watch YouTube and they just add, and as you know, this is all the techniques. You need to have them. You need to repeat them constantly to have them fresh in your arsenal. So going back to these basics, like, just drilling, ashi, drilling, takedown, single shoots, everything. This is so good. It's not maybe as fun as diving deep into the leg lock game, but on the other hand, it makes you better and a little bit more cardio you get a little better cardio after training like this because it's kind of a higher pace. And we also do a lot of yoga and things like that to strengthen your body. So, and I don't think we in Sweden going to have this stronger recommendations. I think they're going to lighten up soon so we can go back to do what we did 2-3 weeks ago. So I think it's just a very good time, well-timed down so you can heal up injuries and, so I think it's perfect, really.
Do you have any injuries that you're dealing with?
If this is the gentle art, we don't have injuries yet. Yeah, of course I have both knees. I've been in heel hooks and tapped too late many times, and I even popped my own ACL and LCLs, and of course my knees are all busted up, and my shoulders are my neck. I have a herniated disc right now. I have both my knees are pretty damaged right now, and I also have I had it healed up 4 weeks ago, something a fractured rib. So I'm all constantly. But I mean, we are so hardened by the sport. So I mean, a cracked rib or something is not even considered an injury. It's just the name of the game. It's just pain. It's just pain, and pain is nothing. And pain just moves around on your body.
Now, for those that don't know, you also sing for a very prominent Swedish hardcore band, hardcore punk band.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit. I mean, I know about Raised Fist, but briefly describe your band. What kind of style do you guys try to go with? I know you guys have a very distinct style of music. Tell me a little bit about that, just for anybody watching that doesn't know who you are, can have an idea what you're looking at.
Yeah, well, we're named Raised Fist, so we formed in the 90s. So we had the name comes from an era when there were hardcore, old school hardcore, New York hardcore, and all these bands from New York were big influences. So we had so this is how we started, but we have developed throughout 25 years. So I mean, it's kind of today's kind of rock and roll, metal, punk rock, and of course influences of hardcore. And yeah, it's we play, we travel, we tour all over the world, from Australia to Europe to everywhere. And it's a pretty massive thing at some places. And yeah, some people know me from that, and some other people know me from jiu-jitsu. So it's kind of I'm just lucky to be able to do both and jump from them. When I get a little bit bored of the music, there's always jiu-jitsu, and when jiu-jitsu is hard and when you're injured and you can't do that, you can go and play music. And when you're sick and tired of them both, you can just be more with your family and play more computer games or whatever. So I can just go around the whole spectrum.
Now, stylistic, I always find this interesting, and I always ask musicians about this, especially ones that play in a genre like hardcore punk. What makes hardcore punk different from heavy metal?
It depends on. I mean, hardcore today, there's a lot of heavy metal influences in there. So, and hardcore is just hardcore punk. I think it's kind of the older style. And now today, hardcore, it's pretty much metal. It's like death metal. They even, growl, "Whoa," and sing like that. So I mean, what I called hardcore back in the days is nothing like people call, or the kids call, hardcore today. So there's kind of, I mean, it's such a big difference throughout the year. So it's hard but I mean, hardcore is typically, strong lyrics, not just about trolls and fires and death. It's a little bit more about society and how we live it today, and a little bit more politically correct, if you say so. that's kind of what separates hardcore. I would say, like a little bit less. Hip hop, drinking booze, whatever, smoking a blunt. That's not hardcore.
It's the topic of the music less than it is the style of the music.
Yeah, probably yes. That's a good description. And you can blend in whatever into it. So yeah.
Now, just so you know, I sent you a link to the video if you want to share it. I don't know if you have a laptop or another phone handy.
No, I have a phone here, so
okay.
Can I share it here in the chat?
Yeah, what you can do is you can leave the chat but keep the phone up so I can still see you and talk to you.
Okay.
I'll still see you and talk to you, but you just won't be in the chat, or you won't be able to see me rather.
Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna write something here.
Yeah, for sure, man. So for anyone that doesn't know, that's tuning in right now, we've got. Oh, Alexander, I sent it to you in your Facebook Messenger.
Okay. So I'm gonna see it.
So anyways, for anyone who doesn't know, Alexander Hagman is the singer of a Swedish hardcore punk band called Raised Fist, and he owns, operates, and teaches at what is currently the only open Gracie certified training center in the world right now. You're still a brown belt, right, Alexander? I think he's a brown belt. He's left the chat just momentarily to share the video. And what I find interesting, number one, is the fact that Alex plays with this band, Raised Fist, and it's a touring band. It's a very popular band. And on the other side of things, the Gracie Jiu-Jitsu modality of training, but at the same time, you're interested in competition. You're interested in leg locks. And I think when I think of Gracie University, I don't think of that focus on leg lockery and on that, just because of the fact that it's not necessarily self-defense oriented. Talk to me a bit about that, Alex. I can't hear you. Hey, Alex, try leaving and then coming back. Can you hear me? Speak, please. Can't hear you. Try closing out completely. Try leaving the website completely, and then coming back in. Can't hear you, dude. So to answer Dustin's question, Dustin Bloodheart, got this question here. The way I grew this mustache, I didn't grow it from yesterday. I've had it. I've been growing it. I just shaved the rest of my face. So, just give us a moment here. We'll get Alex back on the screen, and then we'll keep going. This is a known issue that we have sometimes with StreamYard. Alex, can you hear me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, good. All right. Yeah. So, you heard my question about the leg lockery as it pertains to Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. Let's talk a little bit about that, because I know that it's something you're really into, and you do quite a bit with like.
Yes, well, actually, in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, the curriculum, the big chunks of the system that is recorded and put into a database is called the BBS 1, 2, 3, and 4, and that consists of about 600 techniques, and these techniques are recorded by Henry and Hiron, and they are sort of put into a linear curriculum that you can follow very easily, and everything. Yeah, it adds up, and instead of just picking techniques from the left and right, and then you forget about one, and you don't get a system going that helps. You don't get techniques that help the techniques. Instead, you get something from here, something from there, and we have this that we follow. And there's a big chunks of leg locks in this curriculum, and these moves are also pretty old. So there are leg locks from a little bit more old school leg locks. So there have always been leg locks, but maybe not used that much. And I mean, if you look at Henzo and Danaher, for example, there you have Gracie Jiu-Jitsu as well. And as we both know, Danaher is pretty well versed within the leg locks, to say the least. So yeah, so yeah, I train a lot of leg locks, and yes, we have self-defense. And I mean, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, what it is there is a filter that we need to apply to everything, and that is just in every scenario, whenever you do jiu-jitsu or whatever, you can be kicked in the head, a punch can come from any direction, and you can even headbutts. I mean, when we're in the guard, we have a technique that we go underhook and we go in front of the head just to control headbutting, you know. So it's kind of, I think you should think about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu as Royce Gracie did Gracie Jiu-Jitsu in UFC #1. That was just pure Gracie Jiu-Jitsu coming in straight in from the gym. No training added, nothing. Just pure Gracie curriculum, going in there and just performing the pisau kick, the front kick, boom, running in with the clinch, and then just clinching up, and then leg hook takedown, and then start operating. So it's pretty. I love Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and I love the way Henner and Heron teaches it, because it's so. You know, it takes a brutal street fight into consideration. It's like every time we have someone in the guard, we keep punch block protection, overhooks, you know, and when we set up a triangle, we go with the hand, and we go over the leg, and we take the wrist, and then we go. Everything is just there, so you can't get punched in the face. And so we also have a lot. We also have techniques like spider guard and things like that. But we always mention, when we train it, we know that it's kind of more a sport orientated technique rather than what you would use in a fight. And so, but leg locks, people have it's an ignorant way to think that leg locks is not good in a street fight, because people just say, okay, well then if you start touching my feet here, I would just kick you with the other. I would just put my shin bone to your forehead with the other. But you can't really do that. I mean, if you know how to operate the legs, you know that it's hard to set up. It's hard to. So they are pretty. I would say that the leg locks are pretty. They call it street. People call it street, but I mean that's you can fight in an octagon as well. Look at Brian Ortega, for example, who is also schooled since birth, almost in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, and so that's basically what it is. So to answer your questions, leg locks, yes, they are there from the start. Not as a white belt, but when you're a blue belt, you start digging into the curriculum, and this is when you go and we reap the knee, for example. We don't have any knee reaping or any rules into regulation. So the first heel hook that we learn is a really strong leg reap. Actually, we are also encouraged to reap the knee with power to get the person off a little kuzushi with the leg. So yes, so and before I started Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, I was doing a lot of shoot fighting and some other things, like Eric Paulson, combat submission wrestling, and so leg locks was, of course, my I just loved Eric Paulson before I knew anything about Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So I started with that, and then. So it became a natural thing for me to continue using that while I was studying Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. So and now, I mean, everything evolved so much, and I just love it. But yeah, it is what it is. It's very fun. I love it.
I mean, the reality is that the modern leg lock game is very different. So I don't remember who I read that wrote this, but I think it might have been Junji Hibero.
Yeah.
But the idea that Jiu-jitsu was developed to, for a person to deal with an untrained assailant.
Mm.
Like that is what self-defense jiu-jitsu is. Whereas what
Yes.
sport jiu-jitsu is how do you use your jiu-jitsu techniques to beat another person who also knows jiu-jitsu techniques.
Exactly.
So like
And
if I get into a fight, if I get into a fight with an untrained attacker, there's a good chance that I'm going to beat them because I'm a decent brown belt in jiu-jitsu. Even if I was a blue
Probably.
belt, if I was a blue belt, I'd still have a decent chance. And same goes for you. And I think that I know that Henner has said this on many occasions. I had him on a podcast once where he said, if you don't have striking in your training, you're not doing Gracie Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I feel like if I'm investing time into striking, and that's not what I'm interested, that's not why I'm doing what I'm doing.
Exactly.
If I'm investing my time into striking, then could be using that time to sharpen my leg locks, to do my ashi drill.
Absolutely.
What do you think about that? What do you think about that? Do you think that I'm bastardizing the sport?
No, but the thing is, if you do sport jiu-jitsu and if you don't punch every training, there's one thing doing ground and pound every day. I mean, if you play tennis, if you stay with the hockey stick and you do that and you occasionally try tennis, you're not going to be a tennis pro. And it's the same with MMA. I have MMA guys that doesn't train Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. They don't train the intricacy of leg locks or whatever. They punch a bag and they do a lot of cardio and they're just athletic freaks. And, they do MMA. So they just touch some areas here and there. And I mean, you see that also in MMA pros. They are purple belts. They don't have the deeper knowledge of jiu-jitsu, what that is. So I mean, you need to decide where you are going to go deep. And Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, it's not going deep anywhere. It's not going deep into the sportive jiu-jitsu. It's not going deep into the MMA. It's sort of like a in-betweener. But what it makes is, what the difference is, and this people need to understand this with self-defense. If you only train something for 1 month in your life, nothing more, nothing less. What kind of techniques do you need to know in order to protect yourself from someone sitting on your belly, punching you in the face? You have 1 month to teach your mother something. This is, Emil, think about it. Would you start teaching her leg locks, the latest Craig Jones video? No, you would not. You would teach her how to reach up and grab the back, pull the person down, and try to do a trap and roll or another escape that is very easy. So first of all, someone sits up, they punch you, you need to pull them down. So their hands go to the ground. And then you maybe teach her an elbow escape or something very easy. This is combative thing. So the time is there. I mean, Krav Maga, I get this all the time. What is better, Gracie Jiu-Jitsu or Krav Maga? And I say, well, if you learn Krav Maga for 10 years and you meet someone that is, using a weapon or something, that would be the thing. But if you only have a limited time and you need to teach someone self-defense, how to be safe, Gracie combative self-defense is very good. So I mean, trap and roll is good. This is lesson number 1 in Gracie Jiu-Jitsu. We have trap and roll, the normal version. We have the headlock version, and then we have the version where they sit up and they punch. So you pull them down, and then you do a trap and roll. You climb up the shoulders, and then you bite the arm, and then you do the trap and roll. This is what you learn the first day when you come to Jiu-Jitsu and you have never tried anything else. So let me ask you a question. If you do that for 1 month, or if you leave out the punch variation, if something happens on the street, who do you think is best? Who do you think have the best knowledge to defend themselves if they end up in that situation? Of course, the one that trained it. So what we do is like, okay, we have limited time. You're not going to be a jiu-jitsu professional. You're going to train here for maybe a year or maybe half a year. So we're going to give you a self-defense program, and we're going to pick the number of techniques that we think is the most used in street fight or altercations. And so we have the Gracie combatives, and that is just a system for self-defense and dealing with that. Then after that, the people that fall in love with jiu-jitsu, they're going to go on, they're going to become blue belts and purple belts, and actually the self-defense, it's kind of left it's kind of left there in the back, but we always use this filter, like if someone is here, you need to be able to protect the arms, and overhooks and underhooks are very, very big parts of our system. Like where some other people, they go for maybe a butterfly guard, we do it differently. Some people, they can be very sloppy and just hold we need to go, we take the butterfly guard, we put the shoulders very high up in the air, like so that you almost lift your partner up, and then we put the head under here and we push it up. So there's no punching, there's nothing. So we can't just go in and scoop the underhooks there. So we do everything very different, and that's not better when fighting someone who is a professional in BJJ. I mean, that's a lot of things that you can just leave out. So Gracie Jiu-Jitsu is just a different mindset. Jiu-Jitsu with the mindset all the time. And if you're a leg locker, you have another mindset. Or if you are a gi competitor, you have the gi and that mindset, and you need to train for it all the time. Maybe you don't train no gi 70% of your time if you are a competitor in the gi. And vice versa. So it's just what mindset do you have, and for what arena are you preparing for? And that so I mean, we all do the same, and you can do the same. You can, okay, I'm going into MMA. So what do I need to do now? Then you would maybe change your game a little bit and start training some other things and prepare just for that. So I mean, it's just what you train for, basically. It's not what you train.
Gotcha. Yeah. And I know that you've competed a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
Are you interested in the future? I know that in Sweden and in Europe in general, IBJJF has a decent circuit. Is that something that interests you? Would you want to compete at the IBJJF level?
No, never. I could do that, and that's because everything I do is illegal, and I would have to. I can't. I have it in my bone marrow. I have these techniques, so I couldn't change it. I don't think I could ever, and I wouldn't want to do it like a knee reap, for example. All my leg locks comes from a knee reap, so it's kind of I couldn't do that. And heel hooks. I mean, if you can't do heel hooks, it's not even worth going to the competition. So for me, that it's a big no. I could never ever do it, and I can't even see. I could never live with myself trying to go for that. So it's the kind of no. But that's me personally. Many people just want to train and they want to compete, and this is what they can. They don't have options, so they do this. But for me, I would rather just spar than even train for this.
When you're on the road with raised fist,
yeah,
do you get to train much? Do you drop in at gyms? What do you do?
So I meet people on tour. I meet black belts, and you know Billy from Biohazard, for example. He's a black belt. I meet him at festivals. We haven't trained though, but he brings his mats and everything. So, but the thing is, on stage, when you play 1.5 hours every night, you're so tired. I mean, I warm up 45 minutes, then we go on stage, and raised fist we perform. We do a really hard live session. We're not just standing there playing folk music. We're going for it really hard. So I'm pretty tired after a show. I mean, sometimes I puke because I'm so tired. I'm just totally devastated, and I have like protein shakes on my rider and everything, so I can just rehydrate and get my proteins and everything. So when I get back from a tour, like a 10 or 15 days in a row without rest, I'm in better shape than before I left. So I come home shredded, and so it's a good thing. I heal up. I just leave jiu-jitsu. I watch some instructionals in the tour bus, and I get a little knowledge coming, but I don't train, and I do it on purpose. But sometimes someone invites me for a seminar, or just come here and train. We're in Australia, and some friend or some distant colleague say come by the gym, and of course I do that. Yes.
Now, Are there any musicians that you'd want to train with specifically? Anybody that, if you had like anybody specific that if you had an opportunity, you'd seek them out?
Oh, many. I there's so many musicians, and many colleagues in the game, like agents, booking agents, and I don't know. But I would no, not really, nothing, no one special that I think about. So, but there are a lot of people in the world that I would love to train with.
Gotcha. Do you have any specific competitors that you follow more closely than others?
Not really. I follow you and people that I know a little bit, so I'm curious about that. And the big names, of course, Gordon Ryan and Craig Jones and people like that you can't really miss because the social media is full of when they do things like that. But and some big fights that are interested, but I'm not a statistics nerd about what's happening in the scene. I'm more of I train for myself and yeah, that's how it is.
Now, how often do you get to train with Henner and Hero and Gracie? And what is that like for you?
Yeah, well, I've done every like rank grading or what you call it with Henner personally, all the stripes and everything. So I go there 1 or 2 times a year and try to get as much training. But it's not only Henner. I mean, there's a lot of people just under him also. They're very well versed in what I need to know and learn. So when we are around there, I mean, I go there. I try to time it with when other people are there. So there could be I go into a private room and there's like 5-6 black belts from all over the world, and I train with them. And Henry is a very very big guy, and he's like a technical freak. He plays around with high level jiu-jitsu, and I mean he plays around with them. So I'm so much smaller than him, and of course so technically under him that it's not even funny. It feels like trying to swim in a sea of thick oil. It's just like I just drown. So of course he keeps it very. I'm not saying that it's not rewarding rolling with him, but for my if I want to have a really really beneficial role, I would say that rolling with someone slightly under your level is more rewarding, where you can really go for your things instead of just getting overwhelmed. And even though Henner, of course, lets you do whatever, it's it's very hard. If I would have been his length, I would probably have a better thing. But then on the other side, his technical tweaks and his knowledge is just over the roof. So that's what I like with training with him. He sits there and he looks at you and he can give you points and hints from as a third person. And yeah, and all whatever he says, he always have a tweak. If you have some little arm lock or whatever, he's always like, and look, here you have a wrist lock. He comes in with something or a tweak, like a straight arm lock. You've done it 100 million times, and then he goes like, okay, just hold your hands like that, but then swap your hand, put that hand on top instead. This is how Hiron does it. Just feel it, and then you feel it, and it's like, oh my God, I need to change this so it's kind of the small tweaks. And I mean, you know this, you're a brown belt yourself, you've done a lot of jiu-jitsu, and we have tried almost everything that there is. Of course, there are new things popping up, but they come more and more seldom. And so now it's about tweaking what you already have, and you're navigating and polishing. And this is, I'm so fortunate that I can have both Henner and Hiron, as they are, similar length, similar, like size, and they are two. And when two people, Mendes brothers or Henner and Hiron, when there are two people training together, hours after hours, day after day, 24/7, they are collaborating like researchers, and so many good things come out of that collaboration. So I'm not happy about Henner or Hiron. I'm happy about them having each other, and the product that comes from their constant, development of jiu-jitsu. So that's what is good with them. And but I look at a lot of jiu-jitsu, but when I'm in LA, I level up big time. Yes, and I try to do it at 2 times a year. Or Henry's a very busy guy now, so I started out with having a whole week with him. I took my blue belt with him, so he tested me for a full week. And now later on, now he's so busy, so it's hard getting him, in private rooms. But he takes the time still, and he says like, okay, Alex, and we go into a private room, and then we have like a massive Shark Tank roll sessions, and So yes, there's. I hope there's going to be more time in the future, and that it's going to stay like this. But I also know that they are busy. Their operation is growing so heavily right now, and also the quick flip and all the inventions that Henner has going. His energy is just. He's just he's a different kind. So.
Now you mentioned that the size difference between you, Henner, and Hiron is so big that it's difficult for you to roll with them, or to get as much out of rolling with them as with somebody your own size.
Yeah.
Can you elaborate a little bit more on that concept? And are there any instructors that are around your size that you've worked with that you've gotten something special from?
Yeah, of course. Alex is one that I rolled with and trained with privately now. Last time I was there, maybe Alex Stewart.
Okay.
He's one of the head instructors there, and he's my size. He's a little bit stronger than me. He's very strong, but his movement is just, like when he just serves you in a way that it's very, very, and it's so good feeling someone in your own size, how much pressure they can actually put on you, because then you feel it. I mean, if Henner just puts his thumb inside my collar and just paper cuts me, I can't do. But if someone lighter and smaller tries that, then I can do other things. So there are people there that are. I mean, Henry and Hero, they're almost 2 meters. They are tall guys and muscular guys and athletic guys, and I mean, the jiu-jitsu is also, of course, on another level.
You're breaking up, Alex. It seems that Alex's phone broke up, so we'll see if he's going to try to come back in here. My experience is somewhat similar to Alex's, to where if I'm rolling with somebody that's much smaller or much bigger than me, I often find that I don't get as much out of it as with somebody around my size. And like Alex was saying, having people that are slightly below your level and people that are above your level, I think is always helpful. For me, I get my submission reps in rolling with people that are not quite at my level yet, and I'll work on transitioning between submissions. When Alex comes back in, I want to talk to him a bit more about his band, so definitely stay tuned. Let's see what's going on with him. Send him a Facebook message, make sure that he isn't having a hard time coming back in. So if anybody's in the comments here, if anybody's watching this live and wants to comment on the video, feel free to drop a comment. Any questions that you have, I can put on the screen. Brian Hader, I don't know if John knows that I'm using his stash, but what's he gonna do about it? Fuck, I mean, the guy's out here molesting alpacas or something. Let's see what's going on. So, there we go. He's back. Just a second. Alex, can you hear me?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, Alex?
Yes.
I can hear you.
Okay.
I don't have pictures.
Okay, let's go with this then. I think my phone overheated.
Okay. That's
You see a picture here when I was young.
Yeah, I see the picture when you were young. How long have you been doing martial arts?
I started when I was 4. So I mean, I started boxing, and my father was a boxer, amateur boxer. But I started. Let's just put it this way: I've been the head instructor at Nordic Fighters MMA since I think about year 2001 or something. So I've been the head instructor for 20 years. So and I started Muay Thai actually. So around 2001, 2002, 2003, I was traveling to Thailand to train, and so that was my kind of first real uh, focus from doing all these kind of karate, judo, Japanese jiu-jitsu. When when you're a kid, you do all these kind of crazy things, and so Muay Thai was kind of boxing, and then Muay Thai. I fell into Muay Thai, and then I became the Muay Thai coach, and I did that for a long time. And then MMA came on the rise, and I was like kind of doing a little bit of grappling, and this was the shoot fighting, shuto kind of uh, thing. And after that, I realized that I need to learn jiu-jitsu for real. And because every day when I come to the gym, there's like one technique here, there's one technique there, and this never ends. And when you don't know jiu-jitsu, that's kind of the feeling you have, like this is a never ending, this is just a waterfall I'm standing under, and techniques are just dropping on my head. And actually I did a little calculation on it, and well, jiu-jitsu is kind of false summit. I mean, what keeps you alive when you're a white belt, blue belt, purple belt is that you think that you can always learn jiu-jitsu, new things, and that you can just use it and then everything is going to be okay. But when you when I got now into brown belt, and I've done jiu-jitsu for a long time, I've started to realize that it's just jiu-jitsu is a game, and you need to cut out what's good for you and what you can keep in your memory. And it's like a big neural tree, and every time you do a technique, you put heat on that little neural path, and if you stay away from it, it gets cold, and you forget about it. I mean, there's a lot of techniques. If I ask you and you go like, yeah, oh my god, I remember this technique, I did it 6 years ago, this was my go-to, but I need to put this into my game again. But that's the thing with jiu-jitsu. So, and why is jiu-jitsu so hard? Why is it the hardest martial art in the world? Well, there's a mathematics, and the mathematics goes well into the statistics of the coronavirus today, like how you infect people. And it's like every move in jiu-jitsu, let's just calculate this. You have one move. I'm doing one move towards you, Emil.
Mhm.
And you will have 2 moves to counter. You will probably have 10 moves. But let's just say you have 2 moves to counter me. And on your 2 moves, I have 2 moves each. And on these 2 moves, you will probably have 2 moves each. And if we take that in 20 steps, we dig down 20 steps, it's 500,000 techniques. And how can you keep jiu-jitsu, how many techniques can you keep fresh in your head? 365 days. Okay. If you learn one technique good, you train a whole day, because you can't just see a technique. You need to train it, you need to drill it, you need to repeat it, you need to do it over and over. One day is not good enough, because you need another day. You need to sleep on it and get it back again before you know it. But let's just say that you could learn a technique and get it into a game the first day. So 365 techniques for a year. But that actually means that the first technique you did, it will not come back before 365 days. That's when you do it the second time, and you can't remember techniques. You can't remember techniques by doing them that seldom. So jiu-jitsu is something you need to decide. What's my game? How big is my brain? How big is my memory? And what can I contain, and what can I use effectively? And this is what I train. and then I have a target. Yes, and this just, and when you get, but when you're white, when you're blue belt, you think you don't know your memory, don't know your brain capacity for jiu-jitsu. You don't know, you haven't explored how big or how small, how big the random access memory is, how big of a hard drive you have. So you just pour things in there and you are happy, and everything is just so marvelous. But yeah, so that's kind of a, yeah, I needed to, I thought that I could just pour in techniques, but I also figured out that I need to get some system into it. So a systematic approach to jiu-jitsu would be the best. And then I started looking for different curriculums that had this. And I stumbled upon Henner and Gracie because I was on tour in the US, and I met Billy from Biohazard. We played with Lamb of God and some other big names there. So we were touring in the same bus. And he talked about me. He talked about them, and he said, "You should come to LA and start training." And I was like, "Yeah, well, jiu-jitsu, I tried it, and I know grappling, but it's not really my game. I'm more into, Muay Thai and things like that." Well, whatever. Time went by, and I called him up, and he hooked me up with Henry and the guys, and I flew over. And at that time, I already trained for 1 or 2 years really hard, and of course before that also the Shuto. So I went there and I met up with Henner, and we trained for a week, many hours every day, and at the end of it we did the combatives and blue belt test, and he awarded me with a blue belt. And after that I was kind of, this is what I need to have. I need to have this system. I can't just figure out every session on my way there in the car. What are we doing today? What are we doing? Like setting them up. So they had it all figured out, and it was actually, I mean, just having the whole database and everything already thought through was kind of a big, like if you're a teacher, you have all these kind of, you already know what you're going to teach. If there's like mathematics or whatever, you have the plan. And it felt like, okay, here they're giving me a good plan. We're going through the chapters like back mount, and blah, 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 leg locks and everything. And then the second time around, we go for the defense techniques on all these, etc. So I just felt that it was so much more easier, and I could also forget so many techniques. I knew that they would come back. Younger students would go there, and I would need to go back. If I wanted, I could just roll within the curriculum. And so now I've been rolling it within this curriculum, and I just feel that every time I come back to technique number one, I find new things out, and I just strengthen the whole system instead of just going looking for gold in other areas. So yeah, a long time, but not the whole time with jiu-jitsu, but the last 10 years have been heavily into jiu-jitsu for sure. And also I've been, as I don't have a normal job. I don't wake, I don't have to put an alarm clock on. So I'm lucky with the music and everything. So I can just, when I train, I can train as a full-time professional. I just wake up, I have a shake, and then I go train jiu-jitsu, and I can train 10 hours if I want to. And then I do, and if I'm sore, if I have a bad back or anything, I just sleep longer. So it's very easy, and I've been doing some heavy sessions and heavy periods of training where I've been doing like 3 months. I train 2 hours every day just in this curriculum, like very, very focused. And I'm also, I think, the fastest one to go from white belt and rank and grade the whole curriculum. I think I did it. I don't know how fast I was, but and this is what I mean. BBS 1, 2, 3, 4 is what's out there right now. There is no more. So yeah, a lot of training.
So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, you guys recently put out an album, Raised Fist. You guys put out an album called Anthems. What I noticed with that album was that the sound has changed a little bit. Can you talk to me a little bit about that?
If we changed our, what did you say again? I didn't hear.
I felt like the sound changed a little bit
Yeah.
in the
Okay.
album. The new album sounds a little bit different from some of the earlier work that I've heard.
Yes, I think we changed every album. From every album, we changed quite a lot. So, and I think we need to do that in order to stay active as a band. I mean, it's like we take approximately 5 years between the albums, so that's a long time, and of course there's development happening just from time passing. But I think we try to do something new with interesting, you know. Just making copies of your old albums is not gonna be interesting at all, and I don't think it's not. I know some bands change and I hate it. It's just like, oh no, why did they change? This is so worthless. And I'm there. I know that from a listener point of view. But then from the when I write music, I can't just write the same music all the time. There's no challenge in it. There's nothing rewarding in it. It's just like you already know how to make these kind of songs. And yeah, it's not, I don't know, it sounds a little bit cheesy, but I mean it's still art, some kind of creativity that comes, that it's not just production. It's kind of, it's something that I sit down when I write, and I just play a little, I play some tunes on the guitar or maybe on the drums or something, and I don't I don't just sit there and work. I just play because I like it. And sometimes, oops, this was a nice riff. And then I save it into the bank, like, okay, this is good. I'm going to work on that later on. So it's just like it comes to you. It's not a work. And I think making music should be like that. So you just wait until it comes, and then you listen to it, and it could be what kind of genre. It could be different kind of music. It can be different sounds, whatever. If it's good, it's good. We keep the core, but we elaborate a lot around the core. So that's kind of how we want to do it.
I got you, man. So I know that during the quarantine here in the States, I've had a chance to listen to some of the newer music that's come out. Are there any albums that have come out recently that you've gotten hooked on?
No.
Nothing?
I'm so, I'm kind of, after we released the album now 4 months ago or something. So, and we've been working so long with that, like just screaming in the studio booth for like 14 hours a day, just screaming, the headache starts at hour number 1, and then you go on for 13 more hours and with short breaks. And it's like when you get out of the booth, you're so mentally upside down that you don't want to hear music ever again. So I'm kind of like, so damaged from all this, so I don't want to listen to music, and I don't. And also we've been now playing now, so there you go again. You listen to the support act, you listen to the mid act, then you listen to your own music, and then you listen to someone, and all the time when you sound check, there's music, and when you are backstage, there's music. And so I don't want to hear anything. I just want to go home, go into the jiu-jitsu room, and just want to hear slams on the mat. That's my kind of, or the music that I listen to also is, I play drums maybe 40 minutes a day, like on my digital set. So I sit and I jam a little bit, and that's it. So other than that, I don't have the headphones in. I want it quiet.
So you play drums?
Yeah, let me just add also, I have a 5-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old daughter, and they listen to a lot of, like Justin Bieber and all these kind of, they dance with the dance to, YouTube videos and everything. So my brain is just overcooked.
So they're not jamming Friends and Traders?
Yeah, they are actually, but when they do, it's kind of, oh, I don't need to hear Friends and Traders one more time in my life, really.
I mean, I feel like that's probably your biggest hit.
Could be, yeah, yes,
I
but
know that on Spotify it's the number one
yeah,
song.
yeah,
For you.
yeah. It's an older song also, so it's kind of gathered a lot of attention. But I think the latest album we have out now is by far the biggest album. If you look at how big attention, how much attention it has gotten in just 4 months. So it's kind of, I think it's going massive. But now it's Corona time, so we were supposed to go on tour now and support this album, and everything just went flat. So yeah, I think we're gonna restart when this is over.
Speaking of tours, if you could pick a tour package to be part of, like any tour package, what would you put yourself on?
Guns N' Roses, AC/DC,
Classic shit.
yeah, and maybe yeah, I don't know, Guns N' Roses and AC/DC. That would be when they were in their prime. I know AC/DC is always prime, but I mean Guns N' Roses when Appetite for Destruction, or at that time when the time was right, when Rockstar was really a rock star. I mean today rock stars they are not that untouchable. They are not. They're everywhere, social media. But back in the days when there was no internet, the TV, there was no TV channels, maybe the 2 or 3 that you could look at, and you just sat there looking at MTV and was just like, oh, the next song must be one, the next song, hope, and you held your thumbs wishing, and then oh no, and then you waited, you stayed up a whole night just waiting for a Guns N' Roses song to come up. At that time when rock stars when they were touring, this is the time when I would and a package that I would want to go on tour with.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting that you bring up the dissolution of the rock star. Last Sunday, I had some musicians on the podcast. I had. Have you heard of the band Night Rage?
Yes.
Their former singer Anthony Hamalainen does jujitsu as well, and
Yeah.
And then we had a couple other guys on there, and we were talking a little bit about how social media has really changed what being a musician means.
Yeah.
And I know that you've been playing with Raised Fist for how many years?
20.
1993, according to your Wikipedia page.
Yeah.
How is the experience of being a hardcore punk singer in a fairly successful band changed over the years for you?
Well, it's kind of the same thing as with jiu-jitsu, false summit that I was talking about. Like when you're white, when you're blue, you think that, oh my God, I'm gonna learn one technique a day until I'm 95, and then I will know 600,000 techniques by heart, and I'm gonna be a superhero, and I'm a black belt or whatever. But I mean the same thing with music. You felt like when we get a record deal, the millions are just gonna pump in, and we're gonna be able to do everything. And then you went on tour and you had free beers, and it was like, look, we have free beers. And then you just stared at each other and like, how sick is this? And then years go and you make a little bigger album, and then you go with a little production. You're not in a van now you're in a nightliner for the first time. Look, this nightline, this is a bus, and the bus driver works for us. How cool is this? Now we can have the beer, we can take it from the backstage and put it into the fridge in the bus. And then that was it. And then you were sharing nightliner with 3 other bands, and you just slept all over the nightliner just to fit in 20 people there. And then time goes, and then you go like, okay, look, we have our own nightliner, and now we already have the beer in the fridge, and we almost don't need a backstage area. And now we have a sound engineer, and now we have blah blah blah, and now we have the merch guy, and blah blah blah. And then you play a little bigger venue. Oh, look, this venue actually have a toilet and a shower. And then the year passes, and then you go with a big nightliner, and you go, okay, now we have a nightliner. We have a TV, DVD here, PlayStation in the back. We have a bar in the front, and now we have a light guy. A light guy, and not only a light guy, we have the light equipment, and we also don't have our cabinets and guitars. We have people tuning the guitars for us, and they actually just put them on stage. And now we don't have to sound check, even the people doing the sound check. And now we have like blah blah blah, and the merch guy is not a merch guy. There are three, and now we have a trailer on the nightliner, because everything just go bigger and bigger, and it's normalizing, if that's the word. It's kind of everything is just comes. If this all would happen overnight, that could be very dangerous. But for us, it just happened gradually. And I mean, we are now at the level, we are not flying private jets, but we are playing big shows. And I mean, in different areas, there can be a lot of money involved in it as well. So that kind of puts a little, I mean, I have to pay for my family. I have to pay the bills, and so all of a sudden you play one show and you're set for a year, and this is very sick. And for example, now in Corona times, when every show we had planned from now to August, September has been canceled. So it's kind of it's very big now. It's very big. It has a big impact on your life. It has a very big impact on everything. It's so much more professional. It's more of a job than just having your skateboard and your band just having fun. So I mean, it's kind of it's very different. But I'm glad that it all came gradually, and so it didn't just happen, because I think we would lost track. We would lost it if it happened overnight. So, and also, what's another difference? I think the attention you get is not when you were young, and when you got attention and people were starting coming to the shows and you had big numbers of people coming up. That was shocking sometimes. And now it's pretty standard. We've seen big crowds. We played so many times for it. So it's kind of you're not. It feels more regular than. It's hard to explain, but I mean, you can go on stage and feel much more confident right now than you did in the beginning, but that was also a little bit more exciting in the beginning. I can feel sometimes now that a show that I would have been very excited about in the past, I'm not as excited about it today. It's more like, okay, it's going to be fun. And some shows that smaller shows that I can be very excited about now. It's kind of, I have different, I want different things. I can have 200 people now, and I feel like, okay, this is such a magical thing happening now. And I can also go to a city, and instead of thinking, okay, how's the show going to be tonight, I can think, this city have so much to offer. I'm going to go out and see this and this. So just playing in a band today is very different from when we were in the beginning. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I think is interesting, and one thing that did come up with the other gentleman that I had on here, was the reality of social media making musicians more accessible and thus humanizing them.
Yeah.
A lot of people view musicians as being these godlike figures.
Yeah.
And the reality is that musicians are just people that do a different job than you might be familiar with.
Yeah, but I feel it. I feel the same. I mean, if we take actors, for example, I mean, Robert De Niro, if you take him, for example, I mean, 15 years ago, he was almost never in interviews. You never saw anything about him. He was just in the movies, and he was like kind of a, he had this aura around him. And these kind of actors, now you can follow them on social media, and they post something every day in their normal life when they walk around in there, and it goes like, what? is he a human being? So yes, I understand that the whole glow, it's kind of, the glow is disappearing a little bit. But you can decide if you want to be a person always showing everything. You can also just shut down social media and become a icon legend if you want to. I mean, but
I
yeah,
would feel like I prefer the people that I look up to be humans. I don't know
yeah, me too.
if that makes any
Except
sense.
De Niro and these kind of. I need them to be
Well,
Hollywood superstars.
Alexander, we've been on for about an hour and a half. I really appreciate you coming on. I think that there might be some technical difficulties that happened here. And if
Yeah.
there are, what I'll do is I'll upload this after the fact. I'll actually download the feed and put it up.
Yeah.
I'll let you know. I'm looking at my computer screen. I'm seeing that the video is blank, so I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
But if that's the case, I'll just go ahead and I'll take it down. I'll put up a new one with just the download. But is there anything else that you wanted to talk about today? Anything else that you wanted to bring up and put out into the world? Because these are getting quite a bit of views.
Yeah. Take it easy out there, and I know that as we are speaking right now, there's a raging pandemic outside, and I mean, I hope everyone stays safe, and I mean, you need to stay mentally stable during this. And the headlines coming up, there are always nasty headlines coming up, and there are a lot of people dying, and it's very bad as it is right now. But we also need to realize that media right now is focusing really heavily on all this, and they are kind of doing their job to reporting what's bad right now. So I think we should, for example, I mean, there's a lot of people dying every day in normal times as well, but we don't get these numbers every day on the headlines. I mean, so we should look at it, and we should stay safe, and we should help each other come through all this. But also we need to focus on other things, more positive things, and just like and try to stay like positive is what I'm looking for. We need to be positive about the future.
We've got a question from Marco Santalesa.
Yep.
He asks, I don't practice your sport, but I have a simple question for Alex. Do you get inspiration from practicing jiu-jitsu for your music, or is it the reverse? That it's your music that helps you do things better and having better behaviors practicing jiu-jitsu?
I think if I wouldn't do jiu-jitsu, raised fist shows would be much, much harder, and the music would be much, much harder, because I think it's kind of a what is the word? I think it's kind of keeping me tired all the time and injured all the time makes me not so angry about other things, and less energetic. So that could be one thing. If you want a really good angry raised fist album, then maybe I should stop doing training jiu-jitsu and just start gathering some explosive energy within. No, but I don't know. I think they kind of they help each other. These two things, they work together.
Okay, great. Well, thank you so much for your time today, Alex. For anyone interested, tomorrow I'm going to have Kyle Bame on here at about probably 7 p.m. I got to double check with him, but I'll be posting that tomorrow during the day. And then Monday at about 7 p.m. I have Stuart Cooper on. I will be posting the entire schedule on my Facebook page. And very likely within the next couple of days, we'll be uploading the audio from all of these episodes onto various podcasting sites. Alex, anything else that you want to put out there? Anything at all?
Yeah. If you want to check me out on Instagram, Alexander Hagman. tag. I show some jiu-jitsu snippets there, and if you want to follow along, tag along when we do some touring and shows, that's the place. I'm not as active on Facebook right now. So other than that, check Raised Fist out, and if you have the chance to come train with me in Sweden, just come by, just contact me on Facebook, and I will be happy to show you some bits of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, Alex's Instagram account has a lot of really good little details. He does a lot of these mini technique videos, doing kind of 1 minute looking at a technique or something. So definitely check it out. Well, I'm going to go ahead and end the feed. Thank you so much, Alex. I'll let you know what happened with the video on this. I'm fairly certain that we got cut off somewhere here.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Emil, and talk to you later, bro.
Have a good day.
Bye.